We were grateful to have 2024 presidential candidate Marianne Williamson on Rising this past Monday. Now, since then, many mainstream media outlets are overlooking her when they're not flat out insulting her. Here's what MSNBC had to say.
Well, so far, the only Democrat to announce a run is self-help author Marianne Williamson. Would a Biden announcement essentially close the door for everybody else?
It would close the door for your more established candidates, for high-profile Democrats that are already in office.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre seemed to share a similar sentiment. Here's what she said.
Is the president annoyed, frustrated with Marianne Williamson for jumping in the race ahead of him? Did he want a clearer field to run against the Republican nominee in 2024?
Just not tracking that. I mean, if I had a what is it called? A little globe here, crystal ball, then I can tell you. But I imagine 8-ball, whatever. If I can feel her aura, I just don't have anything. I just don't have anything to share on that. Gosh, you guys are making me laugh now.
It's all fun and games, I guess, just giggles.
Yeah, it strikes me as a weird admission to say that you're the press secretary for the President of the United States of America who hasn't been tracking people who enter the presidential race. That seems a little hubristic. I think
and also just dishonest and untrue.
It's dishonest and untrue.
She clearly has.
She knows who Marianne Williamson is because she was quick to make a joke about crystal orbs and such, which, you know, a lot of people pointed out is arguably sexist. Would a New York Times bestselling author, someone who's been in the public sphere, who's sold millions of books and has a lot of people, much more significant name recognition than a number of other candidates who have thrown their hat in the ring in the Democratic primaries, have gotten this reaction? I mean, remember the primary field in 2020, which included Marianne Williamson, had like 25 people in it at one point. If Patrick Duvall entered the race, would we be getting laughter and chortles, despite the fact that 0 people in America voted for him or really knew who he was, or even that maybe he was even running last time around? Marianne Williamson was the most Googled person after, I think it was the first debate that she participated in, it might have been the second, because people really responded to what she had to say. And I think that her professional career indicates that certainly she has a message that is appealing to some folks. It's a little frustrating, I think, to some Democrats even to see how willing the Democratic Party is to align behind a chosen candidate. Biden is president because other competitive candidates dropped out before Super Tuesday so that the centrist vote could be aggregated around him. There was the reporting by Donna Brazile, certainly no leftist ally, about the decisions made within the DNC to openly support Hillary Clinton and not give Bernie Sanders a shake. And there was in court, the DNC explained that it had no obligation to treat Bernie Sanders fairly in the 2016 primary. And the choice to move the primary schedule around so that South Carolina is the first state that has voted it's all indication of the Democratic Party's unwillingness to have a fair and open contest here.
You know, I think it's interesting to compare how the reception to Marianne Williamson in her media, the Democratic media side, actually to Vivek Ramaswamy, a Republican candidate we've interviewed on this show. Obviously, their views could not be more discordant, but Vivek Ramaswamy he's said he's running for president as a Republican. He is ostensibly challenging Donald Trump, who is in the race. Like Marianne Williamson, he's not a political figure. He has no history of being elected to office. You know, he polls very lowly. He's not widely known outside of political circles, but he's being taken at least somewhat seriously. He's been interviewed on Fox tons of times. They're not the talking heads on Fox and other conservative channels. They're not laughing at him. They're not making fun of him. They're not making jokes about him. They're taking what he has to say seriously. Yep. That's it's very illustrative that that's what happens on the right. Not happening. Nobody's inviting Marianne on MSNBC and CNN to challenge, to say that she's actually the person to deliver on Biden's message of doing things for working families and et cetera.
And look, by the way, what happened when liberal media figures were talking about even Nikki Haley. There does seem to be a pattern emerging here. Don Lemon describing her as past her prime, there seems to be this really gut reaction to, I think, some female candidates in particular, because it disrupts the narrative that people would ordinarily want to tell about why someone doesn't deserve to get to be president. But when you have a white male president and you have these women and people of color like Nikki Haley that are in the race, I think it really disrupts the Democratic knee-jerk, I'm just going to root for the person who is the most diverse and not have a conversation about policy. Moreover, I saw another clip that was actually a mainstream media, a liberal news media clip that was responding to Karine Jean-Pierre's clip, like we just did, and the host said, "Well, she obviously doesn't take Marianne Williamson's campaign very seriously, and we don't have to either." Set up the conversation exactly like that, and I don't know if that's going to have the effect of coalescing voters behind Biden that they think it will.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to acknowledge that this is an extremely long shot candidacy.
Sure.
Joe Biden is overwhelmingly likely to be chosen again as the Democratic nominee for president. But I don't know if the frankly insulting way a couple of these figures have discussed Marianne is really helpful for any cause.
Yeah, and it was worth also noting that Marianne Williamson, from a policy perspective, which is not something that any of the mainstream hosts want to seem to talk about, at this point is the only person in the race who is supportive of Medicare for All, a deeply popular policy that really catapulted Bernie Sanders to notoriety in 2016. She supports a wealth tax. She has been an open critic of the treatment of Julian Assange. She has, I think some substantive criticisms that have been levied against her by the left about her foreign policy. But in the context of a Democratic primary vote, which is the context that a lot of people are going to be in, regardless of whether or not they ultimately choose to vote third party or do something different in a general election, it's clear that this is the only person who's standing for a lot of the left's principles that were very, very popular to both Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders candidates back in 2020. And to be so dismissive of that and to act like those kind of policy prescriptions aren't attached to Marianne and that you can attack the person without seeming to undermine important issues that the public, that your constituents are invested in, it comes off as very disrespectful. Well, Marianne Williamson responded to the comments made by Karine Jean-Pierre, tweeting a video in response. Let's take a look.
I was so sad to see the commentary of the president's press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, about me, about crystal balls, which I've never spoken or written about, and auras, which I've never spoken or written about, and just speaking so derisively and in such mocking terms about someone who is running for president of the United States. And as a woman, and this is the Democratic Party, I have a constitutional right to run, and my candidacy is about substantive issues and policies. I have made it clear in interview after interview that the president is a nice man and that I have no interest in taking personal pot shots. But apparently the White House, or at least as expressed by Karine, doesn't share my commitment to the high ground. The hypocrisy here is something that all of us can see, because the president has said on his first day in office that anyone in his administration who spoke disrespectfully about anyone would be fired on the spot.
It's a good point. She's got receipts on that. He did say that.
that.
And she does speak respectfully of him. We interviewed her on Monday. I believe it was this Monday. It was me and Batya. And she said, look, I'm grateful to Joe Biden. I think he did a heroic thing by defeating Donald Trump and becoming president. But I am laying out a substantive policy agenda that is sharply more progressive than his that I think will be better for the country.
Yeah, look, shots fired. Is Marianne Williamson calling for Karine Jean-Pierre to be axed? Will the Biden administration respond? We'll have to keep following this story.
Tomorrow on Rising, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we're available anywhere you listen to podcasts at all. And we will see you back here tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye-bye.